Are you, or have you ever, been a member of the Communist Party? What is communism? When people think of communism, all these 50s prejudices, misconceptions, and propaganda come to mind. Some of these misconceptions are that communism calls for a malignant dictator who's blinded by their own stubborn philosophies, as well as a corrupt government. Or, in Korea and China's case, God dictators, who are more deity to the people than a leader. Another misconception is that communism prevents any contact from the outside world, that no one can practice religion or own property. People also think that communist countries are over-nationalized military states that have no economy to support the needs of a country, and in turn force the nation into severe debt. However, this isn't the real communism that Marx and Engels envisioned. This is the Lenin take on communism. Marx lived in a Tsarist-like Germany, people oppressed by a monarchy and a violent, greedy bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie is technically the middle class, but more accurately defined to us as the upper 1% of a population. Many of his cries against organized religion was to stop genocide of religious groups. Hussars went through Jewish shtetls and murdered whole villages because of the religious differences, because the head of one religion wanted to spread prejudice and dissent towards other religions. Marx saw what religion and corrupt officials did, and how it was the rich and their lust for greed who were the hand in all of this. And thus, the philosophies of communism were born. However, it is very hard to apply communism to modern America, because for now, we have this large and stable middle class. Marx's theory more accurately describes to countries like India and the Middle East, where there's a smaller, less stable middle class. Many misconceptions about communism as a whole stems from the Lenin Revolution. Lenin was a violent man who believed in the violent overthrow of the bourgeoisie. Marx called for a gradual step into a classist society, while Lenin removed those steps and interpreted the manifesto to fit his whim. Unfortunately, Marx was not present to speak for communism because he died in 1883, 26 years before the Bolshevik and Lenin Revolution. When Stalin entered power, he changed Lenin's theories, focusing on thought control inside and outside of the Soviet Union, adding more social and religious restrictions, which led to more religious and political genocides and deportations. The Tsarist oppressions were once again reborn, but instead with prejudice against all differences. There are many kinds of communism: Leninism, Stalinism, Maoism, but these philosophies are nothing like what is in the original Communist Manifesto. So, I've told you about what communism isn't, so now I'll tell you some of what communism is. Communism can be implemented under any form of leadership. Communism is only a philosophy to change the economic and class structure of a nation, not its form of leadership. The manifesto calls for a government without corruption, without greed, and without prejudice. A true people's republic. It also calls for the spreading and increased flow of ideas. The manifesto did not call for the abolishment of religion, only to the end of corrupt religious leadership. The plan is to limit the power of religious leaders so they cannot commit crimes like homicide. Marx believed that all men are created equal. The philosophies of communism is an agreement with the principles embedded in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America. Its aim is so that no matter what job you have, If you worked hard, then you would get the same amount of money. However, if everyone worked hard, then productivity and innovation would increase. And so, if everyone owned a Lexus now, in 175 years, everyone would have high-class cars and nice houses. The theory being that the proletariat, the lower class, or 80% of the population, works just as hard as the bourgeoisie, if not sometimes much more. So why give people different amounts of money? Because some are more intellectual than others. Finally, the state would properly nationalize all corporations, and being a highly productive and innovative nation would have little to no national debt. Classlessness is very important. The rich kid is popular. The rich mom abuses the lower class ones with verbal insults. The rich man drives his big wasteful car to show how wealthy he is. All this time, putting down the proletariat or the working class. Which leads me to my next topic, capitalism. When we think of America, we think of mom's apples pies and the Boston Red Sox and good old American freedom. This isn't the whole story. America has more than once exploited nations unable to defend their lands from the corporate rapaciousness of big oil. Capitalism is not democracy, because capitalism is an economic system, while democracy is a form of leadership. The wealthy controls a supposed democratic government with lobbying and campaigning. The corporation whispers its whims and wants into the open ears of politicians, and in turn, the proletariat votes for only a name and a face, but the bourgeoisie buys the agenda. It is surprising how few own so much in America. According to Professor G. William Domhoff at the University of California at Santa Cruz, the wealth distribution in the United States is that 42% of all wealth in America is only in the hands of 1% of Americans. And only 7% of wealth is owned by only 80% of Americans. All politicians are puppets, but ask yourself, who is really pulling their strings? Communist countries have been corrupt and vicious and evil, but so can every other country and political party on earth become that. The world is not in black and white, only shades of gray. For instance, America supplied weapons, food, supplies, and large amounts of proletariat tax dollars to the Contra-Revolutionaries, a military group who raped and pillaged the Nicaraguan people so that American oil companies could drill for oil without having to pay the Nicaraguans drilling cards. All because the bourgeoisie wanted more money than it already had. American leaders emphasize money and material possessions as the most important things, removing ethics and sentimentality and justice from the nation. The world is in shades of gray, some darker than others, but one thing is for sure. If job opportunities continue to dwindle and class separation continues to increase, then the socioeconomic situation will increasingly resemble to the Tsarist Russia. This will make it continually more difficult to maintain a capitalist economic system, making for an almost non-existent, unstable middle class, paving the way for a communist America.